Welcome to the movie. My name is Blaise.
And I'm James.
And this week we're going to be talking about something that should be a movie. But first off, let me let you know the rules of the movie. It's when we take anything that could be a movie and we tell you why it should be a movie. This week I'm talking Florida Man. The Florida Man. Do you know the Florida Man or no?
Is this the cannibal?
No.
Okay.
This isn't a specific Florida Man. It's just I think there should be a movie about Florida Man.
Uh-huh.
And Florida Man essentially is anytime you see a story in the news with like Florida Man does this, and it's always some like crazy shit you would never believe. Like Florida Man makes up imaginary best friend, kills him, and then turns himself into jail for it. Like shit like that where you're just like, what the fuck? And it's like, it was some dude that was crying. I'll put the picture up, but it's some dude that was crying because he like killed his imaginary best friend. He was high on drugs, obviously. Probably Flocka. Isn't that like the popular drug in Florida? But anyways, I picked out some like funny headlines here. Here's a couple Florida Man headlines. Florida man impersonating a police officer pulls over real cops. Florida man advertises legit counterfeit money on Craigslist, is arrested.
What?
Florida man lands gyrocopter on Capitol lawn to demand campaign finance reform, is arrested. So just dumb things where like a Florida man always gets arrested, like tried something insane where you're like, what the, like, why would that happen? And it's a news article. And for me, every time I'm like, I would love to know how this went down. That's where Florida Man the movie comes in. Yeah. And it's such a good title for a movie, Florida Man. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I see
the Florida Project, Florida Man.
I see it kind of three ways actually, or two ways where it could go, where like it could have like three short films all within the same movie, like distributed by Magnet, or it could be a franchise that like, you know, like New Line Cinema like puts out where like it's a new movie every like year, a different Florida Man story. Like I like it. It's very obscure.
This is a good idea, but I've kind of already thought the avenue I wanted to go. So essentially, I thought like a little bit of the story, not much, but kind of the premise. I thought of two, but I'll just say the one that I kind of ended on. And it's essentially the Hollywood like American comedy, I feel like is dead, to be completely honest. Or like at least the vision that I had of it, I think is dead. So I think that this would be the perfect time to make a really raunchy comedy. And Florida Man is like the perfect backdrop for it.
Right.
I want it to be about a guy that lives in Florida and literally gets blamed by like the CIA that he is. They're like, oh, he's the Florida Man. Yeah. And he's just like, what the fuck? And like the cops are going after him. So in his like pursuit, like while the cops are pursuing him and he's trying to get away, all these crazy scenarios come up with more headlines, and the news is all over it. So the news would be like a huge part of the movie. Like the news is just like Florida Man impersonates cops and like gets away with it or whatever, and like it's him like trying to get away from the cops, so he has to like impersonate a cop. Like all this kind of, it's him caught in like a dastardly thing of like the cops trying to get him because they think he's done all these crimes, because there's all like every week there's a new Florida Man crime, you know, so they think that he's the culprit for everything. And he's got to get away and like has to do all these other more Florida Man things to get away from the cops.
Gotcha.
It's kind of the story I came up, and I think it's like could be like a really funny comedy, but also an action comedy. Yeah. Because obviously, if the cops are chasing him, we can throw a lot of action in there. So that's kind of the idea I have. I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to think. Usually, we think of like something that's kind of already like a product and like adapt it to a movie. So I just wanted to think of like, what's something that's nothing at all that I could adapt into a movie. And like, I was like, oh, let's look at the news. Yeah. And there's always a Florida Man story. I'm like, this could have potential. Right. Yeah. But mainly I would say like this could be profitable because the fact that, you know, everyone knows Florida Man, and then it's like it would be a silly premise of like somebody being blamed for every Florida Man thing. So now they gotta like get away because they obviously didn't do it. Right. Yeah. You know, most of the Florida men turn themselves in or get caught. So how could you still be the culprit?
That's true. Yeah.
That would kind of be a joke, I guess, in it as well.
My favorite Florida Man story, when I brought it up with a cannibal earlier, I was like, the cannibal is the bath salt story, because that took place in Florida. I remember. Definitely. And that's where Vitali, the popular YouTuber, got his start, like in Florida, doing the like a week after he did the zombie impersonation thing, and was freaking a lot of people out.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was good. That was another premise I had for it was like a Jackass style movie where like you could just have people creating headlines with Florida Man. But I felt like it would be funnier if it was like a more raunchy, scripted comedy as opposed to non-scripted kind of thing. And I didn't want to rip off Jackass. I feel like that's something of its own. It would have been a more Bad Grandpa-esque thing, I guess.
Anyone you could see developing the movie?
So I definitely have thought of that, and I would say, like we've seen Key and Peele obviously had like great, comedic sketches and stuff. And like we saw with Get Out, Jordan Peele has like a great mind. But then you have to wonder, what about Keegan-Michael Key? Like, could maybe he do something more along the lines of more comedy movie or something? So it was like maybe him involved somehow. Yeah. But then like if you want to just rely on a heavy hitter that can deliver, I would go with Peter Atencio, who directed Keanu and also a lot of Jean-Claude Van Johnson. So we know that he has the ability to do action comedy. Right. And that had a great it was really, I thought the show was really funny, but it always had really good like action set pieces. Right, yeah. So I think he would be really good for this movie. I've never really thought about him that much, but like after Jean-Claude Van Johnson, I'm like, he definitely needs more gigs. Right, yeah. So this could be like a weird kind of, it could be really funny. I was thinking, because a couple weeks ago we were having a conversation. You were talking about Super Troopers 2. You loved it. And then you're like, I just rewatched Superbad. And you were talking about how like there's no comedies like that anymore. Right. And this is definitely where I'd be like, I want to capitalize on the fact that we're not getting those comedies anymore. The closest thing we're getting to is Deadpool, which isn't at all the same thing, like at all. But yet people will be convinced that, yeah, Deadpool is like filling the same market. Like it's not really. It's its own new kind of thing. Yeah. So that's definitely where I would kind of want to take this, right? Is being successful in, that capacity of, it's a raunchy comedy. It's R-rated, like movies like The Hangover. So I think that this could be financially successful. I didn't think of like a studio or anything, but just anyone that's willing to take a chance with the R-rated comedy right now, because there's not that many of them. And when they are, they still don't feel R-rated. Like it feels like the MPA even like snitched on them. Like, why does this have an R rating? Like, this shouldn't be R-rated. This is a PG-13.
It's still driving me crazy. Please watch This Film Is Not Yet Rated if you haven't yet. Great documentary.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, tune in next week to see what we're going to make a movie. But leave a comment below. What do you think? Do you think Florida Man, all the crazy stories about it, could be a funny movie? Or do you think something else should be a movie? Let us know what you think should be a future episode of the movie. Leave a comment down below. Anyways, guys, see you guys next week. Tune in then.